Dear committee, dear audience, let me start with my thesis title, Eating and Feeding Difficulties in Children with Autism Spectrum Disorder, from Background to Tailored Treatment. My name is Krisztina Szalkay. I'm a pediatrician and a child and adolescent psychiatrist. I work at Betesda Children's Hospital in Budapest. My vision is equality for autistic children and their families. My mission is identification of potential evidence-based therapeutic targets in autism with eating and feeding disorder. To achieve that, I have two ongoing projects. My first specific goal is investigating differences in feeding habits and sensory profile between children with and without autism spectrum disorder by conducting a systematic review and meta-analysis. What do we know about the background? Autism is a more and more commonly diagnosed neurodevelopmental disorder with a 2.2% estimated prevalence. The early diagnosis of the disorder is crucial in influencing prognosis, as early intervention significantly improves cognitive and adaptive functioning of these children. With current screening practices, autism is commonly diagnosed late, especially in patients with less obvious symptoms. The underdiagnosis leads to significant personal, family, and societal burdens. In order to improve early detection, novel approaches are needed that move beyond screening with uniform checklists at a single time point. Our study is focusing on the sensory processing and feeding difficulties, both of which occur at extremely high rates in autism from a very young age and can be permanent over time. So we would like to investigate the impact of autism on sensory processing and feeding difficulties in children with ASD to explore these factors as potential early screening tools. We ask, does the presence of autism in children result in more severe atypical sensory processing and feeding difficulties? Using PICO framework, we are investigating children's population. The exposure is the autism spectrum disorder, comparator is the non-autistic development, and the two outcomes are the severity of feeding and sensory difficulties. We hypothesize that autistic children have more severe sensory processing problems and eating difficulties compared to those without autism. I've conducted the systematic search in 4 databases, and after selection process, 47 articles were found to be eligible for the study. Let me present our most relevant results. The first forest plot shows the standardized mean differences in eating behavior inventory total and 3 subscale scores, highlighting the frequency of pathological mealtime behavior between autistic and non-autistic children based on the results of nearly 800 patients. We can see that all the values are positioned on the right side. It means in all cases, clinically, it means in all cases autistic children had more severe feeding disorder. The overall standardized mean difference value is 1.41, which is considered a large effect size. Furthermore, the 3 subscales, which refer to different aspects of mealtime behavior, also demonstrate moderate to high differences. The largest difference can be observed in the limited food variety subscale, which precisely refers to the sensory processing. The value is 1.18. This result is both clinically relevant and statistically significant, as it clearly confirms the critical importance of the sensory profile in mealtime behavior. The second plot represents the standardized mean differences in sensory inventory total and 7 modality scores between autistic and non-autistic patients related to the frequency of atypical behavioral and emotional responses to sensory inputs. Now, all values are positioned on the left side. It means that autistic children exhibit more frequent atypical responses to sensory inputs across all sensory modalities. The SMD values are highlighted. They are considered large in 5 modalities. The largest difference between the 2 groups can be observed in the tactile modality. The second highest is the auditory filtering. The third one is the under-responsive sixth sensation, and surprisingly, the taste-smell modality is only the fourth highest. This result is clinically relevant, especially in the context of eating, and statistically also significant for the total score and for these two subscale scores. The main strength of our study is that this comprehensive review is the first one from an early screening perspective. In addition, we give new insights by focusing on the clinical role of each subscale. The main limitation of the study is the heterogeneity of the measurement methods. Based on our results, we can conclude that the prevalence and the clinical severity of eating and sensory disorders are significantly higher in the autistic child population. Based on this, children with either feeding disorder or sensory disturbances should be screened for autism. In the future, the predictive values of mealtime behavior and sensory problems for autism should be determined, and nationwide surveys are suggested. I'm currently at the manuscript writing phase. 2 weeks ago, we have submitted the abstract proposal for the Journal of the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, so we are waiting for the answer. Let me present our second project, what is strongly related to the meta-analysis. We are working on a protocol for a nationwide survey about screening of the prevalence and association of feeding difficulties and autistic traits in the Hungarian early childhood population. A few more words about the background. In autism, the rate of eating-feeding problems is extremely high compared with the neurotypical population. Our study is focusing on a clinical phenomenon that eating-feeding problems are commonly the first signs of autism and appear well before the onset of the typical autistic behavioral symptoms. These clearly noticeable, marked symptoms can easily mask the underlying neurodevelopmental conditions even for years or decades, leading to failure of appropriate timely diagnosis and early intervention. And without that, severe consequences can be expected related to both the untreated autism and the eating problems. Our aim is to investigate the prevalence of autistic traits and feeding disturbances in general population to be able to develop a screening battery for the earliest detection of autism. We simply ask what is the prevalence of feeding difficulties and autistic traits in the Hungarian early childhood population between the ages of 1.5 and 6 years. We hypothesize that this prevalence is higher in the Hungarian early childhood population compared to previous data. The study has important clinical implications, especially for patients, as early detection and personalized intervention decreases the consequences of feeding problems and autism condition. For policymakers, the message is that targeted early screening practices are required. We had a great progress during the summer. We drafted the protocol, compiled all the questionnaires, prepared the documents in Hungarian, and we are ready to submit the ethical approval. So here you can see the summary of my 2 ongoing projects, and I would like to thank you for your attention with brilliant thoughts of Piglet from Winnie the Pooh. The things that make me different are the things that make me me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Congratulations for your presentation. I'm interested in practice, how can we image these feeding habits and difficulties in autism?
I can say there are 2 main parts. One of it is the limited food variety, so these children only eat 3 or 5 types of food and reject anything else. This is one aspect. The other aspect is the behavior. They are not sitting on the table, they are disruptive, they are autoaggressive, and so on. And the other one is the communication strategy. So they are spitting and turning head, and so don't behave like we are thinking that the child who likes to eat behaves. So these three aspects I can mention, and there is a big repertoire of the clinical picture of these children. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the audience?
Thank you for your interesting presentation. Actually, I'm curious about the Bambi scale, because I'm working with scales. Is it available or translated to Hungarian?
In Hungary.
First question. And I have another question regarding your second project, because what are the instruments you're going to use for screening? And thank you.
Thank you very much. So the two answers are related to each other, because we would like to use this Bambi questionnaire, so this brief autism mealtime behavior inventory questionnaire. It wasn't available in Hungarian. In Hungarian, we have translated it, retranslated, and we have got the permission to use it. This is one instrument for the feeding screening. The other one is the Montreal Child Habit Feeding Scale. It is available in Hungarian already. And for the autism screening, we would like to use MCHAT and the SCQ, the social communication questionnaire. So these four will be involved in the screening.
I also have a question on the Bambi. Is it enough to translate it, or do you have to validate it?
Yes, we have to validate it.
Because that's a big job.
We are planning to do this validation process. Yes, this is our third project or fourth. Yeah, but the third one, because yes,
it's a big challenge.
This is the first. Yeah, this is the first step. Yes.
Thank you. I probably just missed regarding your second project. How do you plan the screening, or where do you organize the screening?
Thank you very much for your question. Through general practitioners and health visitors. So we would like to contact the general practitioners all over the country and the health visitors, and sending questionnaires either electronically or paper form. So this is the plan.
Do the parents fill out these questionnaires, or should
these
the
are
GPs?
These are parent-reported ones.